What's up, guys? Brian636 here, coming to you with another commonly asked question, whether that is, what is that lever on the left side of your bar? What does a handbrake do? Why do you need a handbrake? So, I've addressed it, and I want to make a video on it. What is a handbrake? Simply, a handbrake is a foot brake that you can control with your hand, aka it's connected to the rear wheel. If you're a stunter and you're moving around and you're not in sit down or staggered, you know, the only two real positions you're covering your rear foot brake, you're going to need to be on the handbrake. You need somewhere else to slow that rear wheel. And if you've watched any of my how to wheelie videos, or you understand a common grasp on how to wheelie, you understand that you need that rear brake to counteract that gas. So that's why you need a handbrake, and that's why stunters so commonly use them. It's the way to control the rear wheel when your foot is not on the rear brake. Second part of this video, probably going to take up a little more time, the three main parts of a handbrake setup. So, starting off with the most obvious one is your handbrake master. This is the lever itself and the master right here. It's what sends the brake fluid into the brake line. So I run a 13 millimeter Magura. A lot of guys run Brembos. You know, same thing, 16 millimeter Brembos. So it's kind of your pick or choose of that. Some guys use Nissans. They're not that great, but I've never personally got brake fade on this Magura. I had brake fade on my Nissan. So this is why I've always stuck with this 13 millimeter Magura. To work in conjunction with your handbrake, of course, you probably need a shorty clutch, whether that is an RSC, you know, or any of the other knockoff brands. Second part to your brake setup is an 80-inch to 90-inch brake line, and that is, you know, run all the way through your bike, down into your frame, across to the other side of your bike, all the way to the back caliper. So, some guys, some setups will work off the same master as your foot brake. Not ideal. It's a lot easier to get brake fade. It's not as consistent as having just two calipers on your handbrake setup. So, for my handbrake, I run a 4-piston Nissan. It's been good to me. Some guys will run the R6 front rotors on them. They'll have, you know, 4 rotors on their handbrake, and that's what they run. So that moving into away from the brake line, it's as simple as an 80-inch brake line. It's not that hard. Into the third part of a handbrake setup, which is the bracket. I run a Hohei bracket, which allows, of course, two calipers to mount up to your rotor. I stayed with pretty much the stock foot brake. So it's sensitive enough. The 2-piston has always been sensitive enough for me. Alright guys, just for comparison, I thought I'd break out the stock bracket. This is what will normally just house the 2-piston. So of course you can see it won't really work if you're wanting to put up two calipers onto your back and run the handbrake setup I'm running. So also, a lot of guys will go a bigger rotor. This is another huge way to prevent brake fade. This is just a little bit bigger than stock, but once again, I did get brake fade on my stock rotor, and I have never gotten it on this big rotor, and I've been running it now for over a year. Some guys will run like Hayabusa front brakes on their Hayabusa front rotor on the back. And of course, it's a lot more sensitive the bigger rotor you go and the more pistons you add to it. It's going to be a more sensitive handbrake and or foot brake. And it's just like gearing. So the bigger rotor you have, the less chance you're going to have of brake fade and your rotor heating up. So compared to your stock setup, of course, a lot smaller rotor. It's only got the dual piston, so you're a lot more prone to get brake fade on this and that's just using foot brake. Of course, there isn't a handbrake on this bike, so there's a little stock look for you. All right, guys. So I answered your questions about it. Not that big of a video. Sorry if you knew all this stuff and you had to sit through it. If you didn't know it, I hope you learned something, and I hope I kind of solved all the debates and all the questions on what a handbrake is, why we run it, and why you can do tricks, you know, and not cover the foot brake. It's all because of right here. Here's your little secret, the handbrake. All right, guys, this is Brian636. Hoping you guys are having a good weekend. Hoping you guys are liking the channel. If this video helped you at all, please give it a like. Share it with your friends that don't know what a handbrake is either. If your friends know what a handbrake is, then go ahead and ignore this. So, all right, guys, this is Brian636 signing out. Peace.